The Valari throne world shimmered beneath twin suns, a planet of crystal domes and gravity-spun towers, but inside the royal sanctum, silence reigned. Erin, daughter of High Sovereign Thale and sole heir to the Empire, lay still on a stasis platform suspended above a pool of luminescent mist. Her skin was flawless, silver-toned, glowing faintly as all Valari did, but her eyes remained closed, unblinking, untouched by light or sound. 6 Imperial medics had tried and failed. Neural scans returned incoherent pulses. Traditional resonance therapy had yielded nothing. The last healer had walked out whispering, "She is caught beyond time." And so, Thale broke protocol. From a far-flung border world came Elias Thorne, a human from Sol descent. A field doctor, not a palace-trained empath. One of the last practitioners of touch-based therapy, a method Valari physicians dismissed as primitive, invasive. They called him in anyway. Elias stood before the throne, still wearing the dusty overcoat he'd boarded the cruiser in, his expression unreadable. His hair was mussed from the flight. He bowed, but not deeply. "You understand the sensitivity of this matter," Thale said, his voice sharp with a desperation he tried to bury beneath formality. "You will be permitted no external instruments. No invasive neurotech. No machines," Elias interrupted. "I know. Just hands, and time." The chamber's air shimmered slightly in disapproval, as though the walls themselves found his presence distasteful. "You believe she can hear you?" the chief medtech asked, almost mocking. "I believe she wants to." With a nod from the throne, the guards stepped aside. Elias crossed the obsidian walkway, the scent of ionized air thick around him. He stood beside her now. Princess Erin. The legendary starborn oracle, comatose for nearly 6 cycles. He didn't speak at first. Just watched. Noted the faint twitch of her index finger. The way her breath was shallow, but rhythmic. He sat beside the platform. Unpacked a data pad. But not for diagnostics. For stories. His voice was calm, a slow cadence. He told her about the red storms over Thessera Prime, where lightning lit the desert like day. About the orphan boy who once asked if clouds were pieces of the sky falling apart. Days passed. Then a week. Stillness. Then, one evening, he brought a stringed lyran, an instrument banned from court after a rebellion years ago. He played. Nothing fancy. Just an old Solan melody. Something warm. A shimmer passed through her fingers. Subtle. But it was there. The medic said it was anomaly. Coincidence. Elias said nothing. The next day, he spoke directly to her. "You don't have to come back all at once," he said, voice low. "But I'm here. I'll be here when you do." He took her hand, not to manipulate tissue, not to stimulate nerves. Just held it. It was warmer now.
A week later, her eyelids fluttered. Not fully. Just enough to make the nearest medtech gasp aloud before silencing herself in shame. Elias didn't react. Didn't rush. He just sat a little closer that day, strummed the lyran gently, and told her the story of a Solan girl who used to chase shadows because she thought they were lost pieces of people. The next morning, she moved. Her hand twitched, once, then again, stronger. Elias leaned forward, set the lyran down. "Erin," he said softly. "That's your name, right?" He'd never said it aloud before. Not when she couldn't answer. But this time, her lips parted. A breath escaped. Almost a word. He reached for her hand again. "I'm here." And this time, she gripped his fingers. The room went still. 2 royal guards drew weapons instinctively, unsure if this movement was natural or something else. The senior medic began recording vitals, whispering disbelief into her wrist comm. Elias ignored them all. He was focused only on Erin. Each day after that, she returned a little more. Eyes blinking open for longer stretches. Muscles learning to obey again. Not jerky, no, hers was a grace returning to itself. Like music relearning rhythm. One afternoon, she spoke. "You sound tired." Elias nearly laughed, but held it in. "That's one way to say I've been talking too much." "Why?" "Because no one else did." Her gaze locked on his. Pale silver irises flecked with violet. "Why are you different?" He paused. "Because I don't need you to be fixed." That silenced her. For the first time since her awakening, she cried. Tears shimmered down her cheeks. No sobs. Just a quiet stream of release. Elias offered no comfort words. Just handed her a soft cloth and stayed close. Later, she asked for the lyren. He played. But not alone. Her fingers, still trembling, plucked a few notes, broken, unsure. He smiled. "You're terrible." "I know," she whispered. "Teach me." He did. In the days that followed, rumors spread. The princess, once trapped in silence, now whispered jokes to the human healer. The bond was clear in every glance. Every touch. The court disapproved. So did the council. But not the king. Thale watched from afar, saying nothing. But he never stopped those visits. One night, Aaron told Elias, "I remember the drift. The in-between. I heard nothing. Felt nothing. Until. Your voice. Your stories. I thought you were a memory. Or a dream. Guess I was stubborn enough to be real." She smiled. "Tired, but genuine. You never once asked for anything." "I never will." "Then I have something to give." She held out her hand. The same one she once couldn't lift. He took it. And this time, her grip was strong. Aaron returned to the court chamber on her own feet. No throne drones. No aids. Just a long violet cloak trailing behind her and a steady, defiant grace in each step. The royal advisors watched in stunned silence as she walked beside Elias, hand loosely curled around his arm.
The healer from a dust rock planet now stood where only sanctioned Valari dignitaries had ever dared to tread. It was more than scandalous. It was transformation. The High Sovereign rose from his seat, not out of ceremony, but something more complicated. Gratitude. Grief. Perhaps even guilt. "You've returned," he said to Aaron. "I never left," she answered. "I was waiting." Then, turning to the court, she declared, "And I was found." Some flinched. Others whispered. But none interrupted. Elias stood behind her, quiet, steady. As always. "He never breached protocol," she said, voice unwavering. "He didn't hack my mind or force me awake. He simply stayed. Until I could choose to return." One counselor, draped in data silk, stepped forward. "This connection between you, it is emotional. Unregulated. Unfitting for the air." Aaron's chin lifted. So was silence. So was suffering. "Would you prefer I return to coma simply to meet your expectations?" The chamber darkened briefly. Valari architecture reacting to emotion. But the sovereign raised a hand. The shadows eased. "She speaks truth," he said. "And we do not silence truth in this house." Another voice, softer this time, from the archives division, "But what does this mean? A human. A royal. Such a bond hasn't been written in any accord." Aaron looked to Elias. He said nothing. He didn't need to. She turned back to the court. "It means healing does not ask permission." Later, in the solarium, beneath drifting lights from the twin moons, Elias asked her, "What now?" She took his hand and pressed something into it, a pendant etched with the royal seal and her own sigil, interwoven. You're part of this now. He looked down at it, then back at her. You sure? I walked out of stasis not just to rule, she said, but to live. He brushed her hair back from her face. Then we live. And they did. Erin restored more than her place in the Empire, she rewrote its center. And Elias, the healer from nowhere, became the reason an empire finally understood that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it just listens. They say galaxies shift only under great pressure, war, conquest, revolution. But maybe they shift in quieter ways too. In a healer's hand, offered not to fix, but to hold. In a voice that tells stories instead of issuing commands. In a princess who chooses love not because it's allowed, but because it's true. Erin didn't just wake from a coma. She woke from an empire's old dream, one where power stood above connection, where silence was mistaken for grace. And Elias? He never set out to change the galaxy. Just to help one person come home to herself. Together, they reminded the stars of something forgotten. That healing isn't about control. It's about choice. That love, real love, doesn't demand, it invites. And that the future belongs to those bold enough to choose gentleness in a world that forgot how. If this story stirred something in you, if you believe in healing that comes softly and love that arrives without force, then do us a small kindness. Like this video. Subscribe for more sci-fi tales with heart, not just hardware. Share this with someone who helped you return to yourself. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do,